they say. If you want a job done well, you give it to a busy person. And our next guest is definitely that. Marnie Hibbert has 2 young children and both have their own medical challenges. To help her and the rest of the world understand it more, she has written books about it. And it's a delight this morning to be joined by creative founder and owner of Butterfly Publishing, Marnie Hibbert. How are you, Marnie?
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for having me, Tim.
So tell us a little bit about your story.
So I've got 2 children. Levi's 6 and Kyla's 10. And Kyla has dyslexia and Levi has severe eczema, which we've now managed.
So tell us a little bit about the eczema to start with, and we can see the books behind you. You've put that up lovely, and I've got a couple of copies of your 2 books here as well. Tell us about the eczema detective to start with.
Sure. So when my son was 4 years old, he was diagnosed with severe eczema. And at 5.5, we just didn't know what else to do. So we ended up at the Children's Hospital. And it was so disheartening to think, oh, I've tried everything I can possibly do. And I was doing the correct things. It just happened to be that I needed specific cream and a very rigid routine. So whilst he was struggling at kindergarten, because like children, they didn't want to sit next to him because he had rashes all up and down his arms. And the kids thought that they were going to catch the rash or the eczema or whatever because they didn't know. So whilst that was on the back of my mind, we had to cover his arms with lots and lots of cloth, loads of creams. It was just a very painful time. And we thought, well, how do we explain this to other children that have this? So I just came up with this idea that we've got to be detectives to actually create a little story so that it was fun and it was reframing what is a very irritating condition.
Yeah, and often eczema is just sort of passed off. Oh no, that's just a little bit on your skin. But you know, what you've done and what others in your space are doing is, you know, educating people, which is wonderful in a digestible way. Now, what about the I'm a dyslexic superhero?
Yes, so during COVID, my daughter was remote learning in grade 1, and I noticed that she wasn't able to remember sight words. And I thought she can do everything else really well, except for reading. And there was so many tears. And I just thought, given we have a history of dyslexia in our family, I thought that perhaps she could be dyslexic. So I did a lot of research actually, and thought I've got to get her assessed. So during COVID, it was quite tricky, but we got there. And through that process, part of helping her was actually acknowledging all her feelings. So to be able to give her a photograph or an image and say, how does this relate to reading for you? What does that mean to you? She would come up with metaphors, and they've ended up in the book. And that's what started our story, was actually sharing the feelings and the emotions, because there's a lot of books about dyslexia and how to support children, but where is the book that supports children who have dyslexia to feel their strengths, to come to terms with what their strengths are and how they can go about improving the things that they are not so strong with.
As parents, we want to feel and take away the pain and challenges of our children at times, and you can't most of the time. How much did it help you therapeutically to write these books?
Yeah, so my background is graphic design. So it's my way of communicating, and it's very visual and it's very playful, especially for both of the age groups that I was doing it for. So to work through the books, come up with ideas, work with the kids, see what they suggested, it was quite therapeutic and enjoyable process. The kids felt stronger because they actually knew that there was something good happening. We were changing the way that we looked at eczema and dyslexia. And now both my son and my daughter are really strong, confident. Levi's skin's improved. And there's a clip of him one of the times it was just so awful. And he would, it was awful. And he knew the whole time that I was trying to help him, but it just stung so much.
Yeah.
And when we do the book, it gives a whole an explanation to children, because how do they know that they're okay?
Yeah.
That what we can do can reduce problems. There he is at night with wet wrappings all overnight because he'd just scratch throughout the night. But yeah, so the book was it was a fun process,
Yeah.
and to work with the Eczema Association on it to ensure that it was medically accurate, up to date, and credible. Yeah. That was really important to me.
We need more Marnie Hibberts in the world. That's what we need. It's fantastic what you've done. I'd love to talk to you all morning, because you've done a fantastic job. And only thing beating us this morning is time, and that's what happens in programs like us. But where can we get a copy? Where can people get a copy of the books?
They can get a copy from butterflypublishing.com.au or searching online on Amazon, and you'll both find them there. The Eczema Detective one is still at the printers.
Yep.
So if you want a copy from that shortly, it will just be delivered in a couple of weeks.
All right. Our love to the family, and thanks so much for coming on the program.
Thank you so much, Tim.